mental performance coaching. And I'm super excited to be here today with Andrew Cohen, who is the owner and founder of Get Recruited Consulting, and Craig Cox from One of One Academic Coaching. I think I probably just butchered that, but what is really cool about these two guys is that they have spent a number of years working in college athletics, specifically college football, and they're taking their knowledge of football and they're helping students map out their future, both athletically and academically, so that they can play at the next level. So we had this brilliant idea of getting together and having a conversation about why this is important, and why to start thinking about this early on in a student's high school athletic experience. So guys, are you ready?
We're ready.
All right. So my first question is this. Andrew, what is Get Recruited Consulting and what makes you different? And this is really what I love about the work that you do. What makes you different from those huge recruiting companies that you see ads for all of the time?
So I started Get Recruited Consulting almost 11 years ago. And, I was a coach at the collegiate level for 22 years, Bucknell, Columbia, Fordham, Stony Brook, Hamilton, Bowdoin, some really good schools. But I saw that there was a need to not only educate the families, to also put a plan together and then use my contacts to the advantage of our clients. So what makes us unique is that we're fairly small. So if you ever went to our website, we have about right now 80 clients, and we never have had over 120 in a given year. It's myself, and then there's 5 other guys on staff that are all former college football coaches like Coach Cox at all different levels. So we're going to directly work on the development of the players. So we're on the phone either every week or every other week, and we are tracking their academics with the help of Coach Cox. We're tracking their lifting, their running, their stretching, their diet, their sleep. I was just watching something on sleep this morning, how kids that are in high school age should be at least 8 hours, but closer to 10 hours a night, which I don't know how they get that many hours in the day. But here nor there, we're going to work on the development, we're going to work on the marketing, and we're going to work on the placement. So we are going to directly call the college coaches for our clients. We're going to text them directly because we have over 3,000 cell phones. We have every email, we have every work number, we have all their Twitter addresses. We're going to work with Coach Cox to put every athlete on at least once a week on our social media pages, which our company has over 100,000 followers. So everything we're doing is on a personal level. We allow the clients to call us, email us, or text us anytime with questions. So when I started the business, I said, I want to make us unique. I legitimately want to help people, and so by letting people call us with questions, because there's a million questions they're going to have, we're there to give them real answers. And we're there to give them a real plan of schools that they should be looking at based upon their academic abilities, their football abilities. And along with that, the simple game planning of big or small school, country or city, far from home, close, whatever you're looking for, what you want to major. So it's soup to nuts. We are working very hard to help our student athletes get into a great school, and the school that's the best fit for them. And a link we now have is with Lucinda is the mindfulness part. That's been a huge plus that we're just getting into. And Coach Cox is working with more and more of our kids, working on time management for their academics, study skills, test preparation. And we found that it's definitely helping our student athletes raise their grade point average and be prepared for college. So sorry I got long-winded, but we do a lot and we're proud of what we do.
So what I hear you saying, which is really, really cool, is that when you commit to working with a family, like you're really walking them through that process, and it's like having you have 2 football coaches and an academic coach kind of in their back pocket that can help them navigate that, which I think is so critical with the way that college athletics is constantly changing these days. That landscape is a moving target, and I think families can feel really overwhelmed. So I think this is really a really great approach, and I love it that you're able to really help get them in the right place, because their success is dependent upon, both academically and athletically, is dependent on it being the right fit for them.
Totally agree.
That's really
Finding the right school from the start. It's not always the highest ranked football program or the highest ranked academic school. It's the right fit for your son. I had a great talk with a family yesterday, and they have one of the top 10 Division III schools in the country has offered them, and academically they're strong. He might be able to go to a stronger school, but honestly, when you combine athletics, financial, scholarships that he's getting, like academic money, and all the stuff together, this school is the best fit for him. And that's what we want. We want the best fit. And we're honest up front what level kids can play. We're not going to tell them they can play Division I if they're not. And sometimes that turns people off, but I think it's vital. We want to save you in the long run time, money, and effort by going to the right camps, by speaking to the right schools, and not chasing things that are unrealistic.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think that's such a value for families.
Thank you.
I'm gonna shift gears a little bit, right? Because I think this goes hand in hand, right? We want their student athlete. There is that student component of it. And so, Craig, what is one-of-one life skills, and how does that kind of tie into recruiting, and why is it helpful to think about this 2-3 years before they get to college?
Thank you. Absolutely. One-on-one life skills, I call it a student success program, but really what I teach is what successful people do. I don't teach algebra, thank goodness, because I'm awful at math. I don't teach English. I teach what successful people do. And what successful people understand and know is they know how to make goals. They know how to stay focused on the goals. Successful people know how to use their time wisely. And so time management is a big part of my program. Successful people understand the importance of creating positive habits and getting rid of habits that aren't helping you get you to where you want to go. Input is a big part of what I talk about, and input is everything you see, everything you hear, everything you write, everything you read. Because I'm the firm believer, I call it the law of thought, that you become what you think about all the time. And when you align your input and your time management and your goals and your habits in one direction, in the direction that you want to go in life, you're going to be successful. And so when you start doing these things, especially 10th, 11th grade in high school, you're going to start seeing your GPA go up. You're going to start seeing your test grades go up, because your focus and everything that you're doing is not scattered and all over the place. Now you're focused and you're geared toward your future and where you want to go in life. So that's the biggest thing that I teach in my program. The biggest difference, I think, and I know some college programs try to teach this, they call it college orientation or something. So they try to teach time management, they try to teach this stuff while you're already in college. So I think it's too late. But also, all those things are in group settings. And when COVID came around, that's when I really found the impact that the meetings that I was having with my whole defense at one point, when we couldn't play because of COVID, I started meeting with each one individually. That's when I seen the growth. And that's when I made that decision that this is what I wanted to teach and what I wanted to do after football. And so I created this program, and now, I work with Coach Cohen, and I work with other individuals, pretty much most of us through Zoom. So it's all over the country. But that's why I'm so passionate about it, because now I can really see the growth in individuals, because people don't want to share a lot of their information in a group. When you're in a group of 20, 30 other people, you're not going to really talk about your goals or your dreams, aspirations for life. So getting them one-on-one really helps them open up. And we don't just, talk about time management. We talk about, what are you doing now? Here's the benefits of doing it the right way. And then we follow through and help them create that plan. And then as the program goes along, we check up on their progress. So we don't just talk about these things, we try to help them through, just like Coach does. It's not just about educating the students or the parents. He really follows through and walks them through the process.
So both of you are really giving student athletes and families a blueprint, a playbook, if you will, right? to help them be successful, not only when they're in high school, but also in college, because, you know, that transition from high school to college is huge for any student, but like a student athlete has like 10 times more on their plate than a regular college student. And I was with a team actually last night, you know, and it was the first day of classes, they had practice, and then they had a special person come in and present. And like, we didn't get out of there until 10:15, 10:30 at night. And this was a Division III school. So they have so much on their plate. You're absolutely right that they can't figure out time management once they're there. They need to know how to do it ahead of time, because once they get on campus, it's go time, really.
It's true.
Especially
Yeah.
for a college freshman, because it's camp starts when you get on campus for football players. So there's no breathing room.
No. Andrew, did you have something?
No, I was just agreeing for sure.
Yeah, awesome. And I think what is just brilliant about what you guys do that I really want people to understand is like, you have 20 plus years coaching. So you understand both sides of it. So it's not just somebody telling you kind of time management aspect of it. You really understand what the life of a college football player is, regardless of the division, right? You understand what their life looks like, and you can really speak to that and help them prepare for that. So they know, right, when they set foot on camp in August, what they're getting into. And I think that's really the gift here, is that you have this kind of behind the scenes look, which a lot of people aren't going to have access to. So you're really doing a service there. Let me ask this. So Craig, what do you think is that biggest obstacle students have when it comes to academics, like making that transition?
I think focus, it always winds up to focus. And I know I was just watching something on the news about them talking about banning cell phones in high schools, and there's so much, and it all goes back to input again. There's so much input right in the hands of every student nowadays. I mean, they can see everything that they want to see, good, bad, or ugly, on that phone. So focus winds up being the biggest thing. So one of the first things we do in my first meeting, one of my first questions is, do you have goals? And everybody always says, yes, I have goals. And you go out and ask 100 people, 100 people will say, yeah, I got goals. And then the next question is, do you have them written down somewhere where you can show them? That's when I think I've had one student my whole career that actually had that. So, you know, in our head, we have thousands and thousands of thoughts going through our head every day. If that's where we're keeping our goals, it makes it really, really hard to stay focused on and reach our goals. So the point is to write your goals down, keep them out in front of you, and that helps us stay focused on them. And once they start changing that focus and realizing how input affects how they think and how it really drives their thinking, and once they do that, then they can start changing that focus and focusing on where they want to go, focusing on that goal. Once they do focus on that goal, they're going to get there. But that's what I see more than anything, is just helping them understand that and getting them to focus on where they want to go in life. And once they do that, they, you know, the GPAs and the test scores and everything starts going in line with where they want to go.
That's awesome. Yeah, you can't just throw out, I always say you can't just throw out the goal in the universe and hope that it sticks somewhere, right? You're like, you've got to have that plan in place. And a thing that I've been using a lot with teams lately is, I don't know if you guys have seen it, the Receivers series on Netflix.
Yeah.
Right. So in that first episode, Amon St. Brown is talking about how he like writes his goals for every season in a notebook on top of all the 16 receivers that were drafted ahead of him. Right. And he's 4 years in, and he looks at that every single day before training, lifts, meetings, games, right. To just have that like visual reminder of those goals. And I think that's so, you know, putting pen to paper is the hard part, but that's where it really sticks. So that's such a great skill they need going into college. So Andrew, what do like students and parents need to know about the recruiting process? Like, what is the one thing that you think that they need to know, and how you can help them navigate that?
I think that the first thing is that I don't know how a family or even a high school football program and their coaches, how do they really know what level a kid can attain? I think they can find out about their academics and what schools, maybe they have an idea, but to know, like what is the proper size, the athleticism, what does the film look like? So I do think that what I do right away is I evaluate the film and I give, sorry, that's my phone in the background. I apologize. Um, and I give them a thorough evaluation of what I like, what can improve, what does he need to do to play at a higher level, and what level they are at right now. So I do believe that that's something they need to do. And everyone on this call right now can reach out to me and get a free film evaluation because I believe it's instrumental. So we're saving time, money, and effort looking at the right schools. That's one. Two, we got to understand there's a lot of competition, and not everyone can play Division One. It's every kid you talk to says Division One, Division One. Well, that's fine, but understand they have certain metrics, certain height, weight, speed, flexibility, athleticism, whatever it might be, and every school's a little different. But no matter how good you are, for instance, if you're an offensive lineman and you're under 6'2", you're probably not going to go FBS. And then you'll have a select FCS schools that will have interest. And people don't like when I say that, but I got to be honest, and that's what we want to do. And we want to, and we lose families because, they want to hear that their kid's a Division I player. But honestly, I don't think I'm doing anyone justice if I oversell and tell the family that their kid is better than they are. It doesn't mean I don't think he's good, just might not think they're Division I. So I think it's got to start with a film evaluation, and it's also got to start with a game planning session. We do that with all of our clients. We start off with an hour call, and we're trying to find out what you're looking for. Like I said earlier, big school, small school, country school, what do you want to major in? How far do you really want to go? And it's amazing how many kids say they want to be close to home, but on the sheet they fill out a school that's 20 hours away. I'm exaggerating, but so I think you have to put a precise plan, because if not, there's so many schools out there. So find the right number of schools that fit your profile academically, athletically, and then all the specifics. And like I said, we can help you with the right fit. We have all information. Our platform has every school in the country, every level, every conference, every coach on every staff. So we're able to find out what you need. And then the next thing is, finding out, does the college have sincere, real interest in your son or not? Sometimes we find that the coaches, it's easier for them to say no to us. And if they like them, they're definitely going to say yes, and they want us in their corner. But it's very hard, you find, for them to say no to families. And they do lead on kids a lot. It's not because they're not good people, because they are. That's why they're not comfortable with telling a parent or a kid, we have other kids in front of you. So you might not like to hear no, but in some ways, no's can be helpful, because you now eliminate that school and now you focus on the right schools. So I think it's vital that your plan is accurate for your skill set. And I say travel in 3 lanes. Lane 1 is you're 90% plus sure they're going to offer you, both because of your grades and your ability. Lane 2, we feel pretty good, but it's not a slam dunk, maybe 50-50. And then the stretch where it's going to be difficult. It's not going to be, there's no chance. It's going to be tough. You know what I mean? It's the FCS, strong FCS player that we put a lower level FBS there and saying, hey, you never know, it might happen. We're not going to put a Division III player out there to the University of Alabama. So we're going to push it a little bit, but I think that's the way you travel. So that hopefully that's some great information for you. I tell everyone, coaching 22 years was the best internship that I really could have had. I've heard different things from different coaches, different styles of offense, defense, different recruiting models. There's a lot of ways, but it's all great information that I've taken in, and now I can share it with families. So
Awesome. I think, I can't stress enough, right, that both of you have direct contact and relationships, right, with coaches. So that you can get on a text message, you can get on the phone with them. You're not just sending something out into the email internet universe and hoping that somebody finds it. Like you actually advocate for your families and their children, both from an academic standpoint and from an athletic standpoint, which I think is such a service for families.
Honestly, I'm finding it more and more difficult. So you have Huddle, you have so many resources of film that get sent to the colleges. And the colleges, some of these guys are getting 250 plus messages a day. So even with my contacts, even with my own brother, my brother's at Wake Forest, he's awesome to me, but he's busy. I don't get a response in an hour. It might take a while sometimes. So I'll get the response, but it takes a while sometimes because they're busy. They're also coaches, remember. They're also got a family and they're also doing other things. But as a parent and as a student who blindfoldly is just reaching out to schools, I pretty fair to say they're probably not getting a lot of answers.
Yeah.
If you're a kid that Alabama wants, Ohio State wants, Georgia wants, all those top 10 type schools, yeah, I mean, a chipmunk can help them. But the normal kid needs help.
Yeah.
Even the lower FBS, definitely FCS, definitely D2, definitely D3, NAIA, junior college, those kids need help in getting real answers from as many schools as possible that they're interested in. So I thought that was important to mention.
Yeah, because I think students can forget that coaches have recruiting is a very small piece of the job that they have to do on a day-to-day basis, particularly this time of year when they're heading into season. And so it doesn't mean that they're not interested. It's just they're busy. And so it may take a while. And I think patience is the game, but you can help kind of shorten that window of waiting.
For sure. And get a real answer.
Right.
And unfortunately, I've had too many instances where kids think they're really getting recruited, and then I call up the coach and they're like, yeah, he's really down the line. But maybe the coach let him on, maybe they just didn't hear it right, whatever the case. I don't like to send that message to a family, but I do think it's important. And I believe in my clients. So I just say, okay, put them to the side. It's their mistake. And let's go to the next school. And that's the way you have to have that attitude.
Let me add to that for a second. Yeah. I'm sorry. Because I've personally, I've seen too many students miss opportunities because their parents and their high school coaches tell them they're D1. So they're not listening to the FCS or the D2 schools that's coming in. They're being rude. They're not answering the calls. They're not messaging back. And then before you know it, Alabama doesn't come knocking on your door. And now, guess what? Those spots are used up at the FCS and the D2. I have seen that too many times. So I think that's one of the reasons why I work with coaches, because how he does his business. And I think it's so important for them to get an honest college coaches evaluation, an unbiased is what I say, college coaches evaluation on the players so that they can look for the right fit for them.
Yeah, because I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, coaches, but right, the percentage of guys coming out of high school that are going to play for your Alabamas, your Texas, your Floridas, those are a very small percentage of students. And we're talking about the overall student athlete population that plays post high school. So there's a lot of spots to play and a lot of ways to have a really impactful and successful football career beyond high school without having to go to those two schools or those bigger schools.
Yeah, definitely.
So this is a question for both of you guys. I think I want people to understand. I'm going off script here. But I want people to really understand the value that you bring. So how often are you meeting with athletes and families?
So I'll answer it first, because we work together, but we meet separately with our student athletes, because I do track their academics, but Craig is the one, Coach Cox, that's teaching them to study skills and habits. But I'm just keeping track to make sure they know how important it is. But it varies depending on, the different types of packages we have. It's typically every other week or every week. you know, that we're meeting with, that I'm meeting with them, and I'm working on their development. And more families are realizing, wow, like I was with my girlfriend the other day, and she's heard some of these kids multiple times, and she's like, it's amazing how much better so and so carries themselves than they did 6 weeks ago. And it's true. And that's vital. We want to make sure they're comfortable with adults. We want to make sure they have great eye contact. We want to make sure they have a strong voice reflection, amongst also, you know, when I was a college coach and I used to say to one of my players, like, are you getting stronger? And they'd say, I don't know. So I didn't like that. I'm like, well, if this is important to you, you know if you're getting stronger. So I make our student athletes write down their lifting, like not every single lift, but the core lifts: bench, squat, clean, deadlift. You know, we're doing the same thing for running. If they don't have a good program for running, I'm putting one together because I know how to do it, or lifting. Okay, flexibility, majority of kids, we're giving them a hip flexion program and an ankle flexion because, and this is, can be a whole episode in itself, but kids that are limited, that are not fluid in their hips, it definitely hurts their recruiting. But here nor there, it's usually either every week or every other week. And then they all have the ability to call, text, or email me with questions anytime. But the young men that them and their families take that seriously, it helps them immensely. And some people don't take that seriously. They just want to get recruited. And that's fine that you want to get recruited. I get it. But if you're not going to let me help you get developed into the best student athlete, I think you're missing a part that can really help raise your level, not just as a player, but an overall product. I got to make my product the best possible in order to market them the best. So that's our deal. Sorry if it's too long, but
No, that's awesome. And Coach Cox, what about you? How often are you meeting with students?
Typically, we meet once a week over Zoom,
Awesome.
and my program runs usually between 16 and 20 weeks. You know, it's just I go through all the material I want. Sometimes we go through things more than once. I mean, um, you know, especially, you know, the whole point is not just to get through the program, it's to actually learn the material in the program. So if it's got to take me 30 weeks, I'll take it, you know, it doesn't really matter. We just keep going till we're done and they've accomplished what they want to accomplish in the program.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, I mean, I think that, like, from where I sit, if I were a parent and I had, well, I am a parent. If my son played football, which he does not, to me, it's like a no-brainer, right? I mean, you want to give your children the best and set them up. And I think too often we don't think about this 2-3 years before they go to college. And what you guys are doing is really giving them a roadmap to be successful, and really stand out in this landscape of college athletics. It's getting more and more competitive. And they need an edge, both physically, mentally, academically, and you're helping them do that. So if people are listening to this and they're like, oh, that's me, I need that, how do they get in touch with you?
so I'm going to start. I'm going to offer everyone a free film evaluation and a recruiting consultation where I'll answer all of your questions. And I'm, you know, I'll be very honest with the film, you know, and I'll be accurate. And then there's a ton of questions that we've covered a lot of stuff tonight today, but there's going to be specific questions that you have. You are welcome to call me. I have no shame of giving you my cell, 570-428-2872. You definitely should go onto my website. It has all my contact information, but you can see what we do and you can sign up for an appointment for free. But it's getrecruitedconsulting.com. All right. So that's my way.
Awesome. Coach Cox, how about you?
My cell number is 704-267-1025. And my website is www.101lifeskills.com. So please, if you have any questions, give me a call or you can message me on Twitter at 101 Life Skills, and I'll look forward to talking with you.
Coach Cox and I are both well versed on, like, what does it take to get into the Ivy League, the Patriot League, the NESCAC, the Centennial, academically, not just football wise. So whether you want to, you know, if you want to ask Coach Cox that, we would both intervene on that. But I do think that's important, that you're looking at the right places. I had someone the other day that said their kid was a 3.5 GPA and was asking me about Johns Hopkins. Well, unfortunately, you're not getting into Johns Hopkins with a 3.5 as much as 3.5 is a great GPA.
Yeah.
Or if you're under a 1,500 right now SAT for them, maybe a few kids a year, maybe 3 to 5, but that's about it. But I know specifically what it takes to get into most colleges because I've had experience as a coach and now doing what I'm doing for 11 years. But we don't want to be negative, but we want to be honest. Sometimes it goes the other way. They don't think they could get in, but they can. Now, some schools have more pull than others with what they can do to help a student get in.
I think that's a really great point that I think people should understand is that college coaches, right, work very closely with admissions staff. And so you guys are really well versed in what it takes to get in there from an academic standpoint. They don't operate, particularly at, smaller, more elite schools. You're not operating in separate silos. It's very much a collaboration between athletics and coaches and admissions. And so when they say to you, you need X, Y, and Z grades to get in, Coach Cohen and Coach Cox, they know what that is and they understand it. And I think you really can speak to that as an authority. And I think that's a really important thing that people listening need to understand. So I always love talking to you guys. I learn a lot. And so I think that people listening are going to learn a lot. And I hope that they reach out. I know that you will have an impact on their young athletes and young men and helping them get to the best place for their future. So thanks for hanging out today.
Thank you guys. Appreciate all your time.
Thanks.